only the 3 games on Thursday, but we've got a lot of injury news. We got huge performances from a center. We got a performance from a center that people may be panicked about a little bit. Michael Bolton, what do you think?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and one shall stand, one shall fall. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Check out LockedOnDaily.com as well for your favorite team's best newsletter. All of the information about your favorite NBA team at LockedOnDaily.com. And you know what to do here. We are on our way to 80k subs on YouTube. So let's hit it. How far, actually, double check here. How far away from it are we at the moment? We are 450 away from hitting 80k. So if you haven't, let's hit the thumb and let's get there. Only the 3 games on Thursday, like I said. So it'll give us a little bit of time to get into some of the news that has transpired. And there is a bit. We covered some of this stuff on the preview show for Friday's games, but some of it is stuff that broke a little bit later. So it is a lot. Well, it's all injury stuff, honestly. So we'll get into that now. Miles Bridges, who hurt his knee, went to the locker room, came back and played for some reason, is out now at least 2 weeks with a knee bone bruise. That was like the most obvious injury I've ever seen. It was a hyperextension, similar to what Paul George suffered, that is almost always 2 to 3 weeks, and it causes a bone bruise nearly every time, yet he came back in and played. So he's out 2 to 3 weeks. They're also without BDNR Nick Richards. They're without Mark Williams. So what goes on now? Taj Gibson's starting at center, amazingly. Grant Williams was getting a lot of center minutes. He's going to have to play at the 4 now. Tidjane Salahin is going to have to play the 4. They might even play someone like Cody Martin up a little bit as well. And there's more minutes for Moussa Diabate. I think this possibly pushes Grant Williams into 12-team zone. I wouldn't say that he's not a good per-minute guy. We know this. But just going from like maybe you're a 28-minute guy to like you probably have to play 34 a night makes it interesting. Deeper leagues, there's more to do for Tidjane Salahin. There's also way more usage now for Brandon Miller, for LaMelo Ball, but someone like Trey Mann as well. They're going to have to need to use him more and play a little bit smaller, pushing Brandon Miller up. So I actually think if you've got Trey Mann, he is worth holding to see what they do here. Trey Mann, yes. Grant Williams, maybe. And then Taj Gibson and Salahin, we're talking about those guys for deeper leagues. Ja Morant is out for Friday's game with a hamstring injury. Memphis is the worst reporting team for injuries, so I'm going to expect this is 2 weeks, but who knows? They won't tell us, but I expect this is 2 weeks for him. Tyrese Maxey, the initial report was at least 2 weeks. The Sixers came out and said reevaluate in a week. Cool, that's at least 2 weeks. Don't worry about that. Kyle Lowry is your replacement there. Memphis, obviously, it's Scott Pippen, and then it just keeps helping Jalen Wells and Jake LaRavia and those sort of guys. To more positive news, or if you're in deeper leagues, Jared McCain, you've done it again, also for the Sixers with no Tyrese Maxey. Anthony Davis is probable, so he's going to play, and it looks like Devin Vassell will play on Saturday. So we're going to talk about the Spurs later on, but Vassell will be back quickly, and Trey Murphy is very close to returning from the Pelicans. He's upgraded to doubtful, so he's not going to play tomorrow, but you would expect he's there for their first game. I think it's Monday or Tuesday next week. I don't know why I've got Al Horford's name on that list. It's not meant to be on that list, but there you go. Just Al Horford. News is he remains Al Horford, I guess. Let's look at some waiver wire trends. And in the past, when I've done these waiver wire trends on the show, I've looked at what's happened over the last 24 hours. But a lot of that stuff, especially with a 3-game day on, it's led to like just the names that are being added are guys that we look at as streamers only. So I bumped the time frame out because on Basketball Monster, we've got that time frame ability. On Yahoo, I think it's 24 hours they give you only. And Fantrax, it's 7 days. We've got an ability to go from, I think it's like 3 hours out to 48 hours on our roster percentage tracker. So I pushed it to 48 so we could get some of the streaming stuff in, but just also the general trends over the last 2 days. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit more interesting here. So the most added player over that time frame is the big fella, the Dart, Goga Badadze. I think it's worth it. I have no idea when Wendell Carter Jr. is returning, but that's okay. We just use Badadze for now. He's startable until Wendell is back, and then if something changes, we do move on in that scenario. Bubble Champagne, one of the most added players for 2 reasons. The Spurs schedule, Thursday, Saturday, and then the absence of Jeremy Sohan. Now, Vassell returning will probably squeeze him out of value, but for now, yeah, we definitely have Champagne, and then we go from there. Russell Westbrook, I'm guessing the value is going to die because Jamal Murray, the headmaster, is set to return on Friday. I probably wouldn't preemptively drop Westbrook just to see, do they use him in some sort of an Aaron Gordon role? He has played like as a center before with the Rockets, so don't be so surprised if Westbrook doesn't keep 25 to 27 minutes, but this likely ends a lot of his value. Ayo the schedule's one of the things. Zach LaVine is out. I don't think LaVine will play on Saturday, but he could. So yeah, Dosunmu's added for this game today, plus the LaVine injury. Brandon Boston Jr., we know that all those players are still out, plus Jordan Hawkins is now ruled out. Boston's actually someone that, if you added, you'd probably start him on Friday. The problem is that he doesn't play on the weekend, but I don't mind that. He's good enough, and with enough opportunity to actually be useful on Friday if you've got that open position. And the other one is Tamani Kamara. Schedule play. One of those guys as well whose value is really high when you look at like Yahoo rank boards because of the steal numbers. I think he's okay to have. I don't think that he is a long-term solution though when we're talking about 12-10 fantasy value, especially now, and we'll talk about the Blazers later because Shaden Sharp did return today. The most dropped players across that same time frame. One of them is Garrison Matthews, no problem. The second most dropped player is Trey Mann, and I get it. People did move on from him last game. And what I said last game was, yeah, this game is not good. The minutes are not good. But because LaMelo Ball appeared on the injury report with a questionable tag on his ankle, I said I wanted to just hold to see what would happen. And then we got the Miles Bridges news. So I would go and add Trey Mann personally. Mo Wagner was dropped. Get it. Minutes were down. Badadze's got the role. No problem. John Mobo, yep, he's injured himself. He's questionable for Friday. He's not getting the minutes. Abaji's the guy. And then Brandon Pajemski dropped. I got no problem with dropping Brandon Pajemski, him, Kuminga, Wiggins, all those players. There's just too much going on. And now Melton's ready to return. So yeah, no problem if you want to drop Pajemski. And the other one is Jordan Hawkins, who's a volume points and threes guy who played 18 minutes last game and now is out again and doesn't play on the weekend. The long-term value of him is not there anyway. And Trey Murphy's returning. That is an easy call to drop him if you need to. You never need to just drop someone for the sake of it. It's like if you need to or there's someone else that's more interesting that you're adding, go for it. But otherwise, you don't 100% need to go and do that. What I thought I'd do today, because we didn't have as many games on, is I might do this. Who knows how often I'll do it. I'm always going to get your feedback and see what you guys think about it as well. I want to look at some oddities across fantasy rankings or just NBA stats. And here are 6 guys who are currently top 100 ranked players using straight 9-cat rankings who I'm classing as turnover merchants. So what does that mean? It means that their best category is turnovers. Equal best performer for turnovers this season is Isaiah Hartenstein. He's right up there with Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa. Joel Embiid actually leads the league in turnovers as well. These guys, their value gets completely inflated when you're looking at rank numbers, and it tells you how good they are, when their best category is the absence of something. It's a horrible way to value a player and to look at them in a fantasy setting and think that they're actually this good. Like Lou Dort's the 45th ranked player. I mean, sick. What are we doing? That's where he's ranked. He's not even rostered in like 40% of leagues because, again, people look at it and go, why? Why would I add Lou Dort? But this is, again, why I rail against the standard 9-cat rankings, because that reflects nothing. If you had a top 50 player that was just sitting on your waiver, you'd go and add him, wouldn't you? You go, I've got to add him. I have to. He's a top 50 player. What are we doing? We're 3 weeks in. He's top 50. No, because his best category is turning it over. Or not turning it over. Cam Johnson's ranked 56th per game this season. Cool. He should be rostered. He's not a 5th round player. OG Anunoby, after a really disappointing start, is the 64th ranked player. I don't care. He's been solid. He's like a 90 ranked guy probably, but he's not that high. Royce O'Neal, a guy that's sort of on and off rosters. Understandably, he's playing 23 minutes a night. He's ranked 65th because of turnovers. I think Al Horford should be rostered everywhere, but he's not the 76th best player, and that's what the turnover part will tell you. And the other one in the top 100, there are 6 players in the top 100 where turnovers are their best category. And who here is going to sit here and go, yeah, I love having top 100 player Onyeka Okongwu on my team. Man with one good game for the year. He just hasn't had any turnovers, so he's ranked that high. It's not a realistic thing. And he, to me, is a very close to being a droppable player. Yet, as a top 100 guy, you wouldn't. But you would, because you understand that that's not a realistic representation of where that value lies. And I'm sure there's going to be someone who wants to argue about that in the comments. That's what the comments are for. Go and drop your argument down below. I am all here to read it and then also probably dismiss it. I won't. I'll read it and then dismiss it. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions, that's a lot. That's with a B. Billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 different players with a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. It is so simple. You go in there and you pick the players, the individual stat numbers, and you just choose more or less up to 6 of them. You can actually win up to 100 times your money on as little as 4 of those individual stat projections. PrizePicks now also offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your accounts for whatever sport it is that you are playing. PrizePicks is the best place to get that real money sports action. So join over 10 million users and sign up today. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place those live NFL bets. The days of yore when you had to look and find the stats somewhere else that wasn't the live betting page or the live play-by-play, forget about that. Erase it from your memory because it's all there in the one spot on the FanDuel app. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you don't have to go searching for stuff. It is right there. So join at FanDuel.com today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, that should bring us in to talk about some games. All right, let's go to the first game here. We're talking about old mates, the Chicago Bulls. Your mates, my mates. The Chicago Bulls taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves get the victory 135-119 in the end. Let's start with the Minnesota side of this equation. Goose was pretty good, 35 minutes, 33, 8, and 6 for Anthony Edwards with 5 threes. He shot well, not enough free throws, and he's been still somewhat of a disappointment, but not terrible, while it was also a good Rudy Gobert game. And when you play against the Bulls, it is very easy for players to put up good numbers. 21-9 for Gobert on 82%. We also got a 22-10 Julius Randle game, and I would say that he would have beaten most people's expectations so far this season. He is, the 50th ranked player in points leagues. He's a top 50 player in category leagues. I think people would have expected that. He's been great. And it was also another solid big Ragu game. 13-4-4 for Dante DiVincenzo. It helps that he got 3 steals and a block. He still can't shoot. But this is an encouraging game. I still think he's on the borderline of 12s versus some sort of top 70 upside player. I don't see that. But it was good. Naz Reid, who I did feature on the show, saying he was a huge sell high, had 4 points in 18 minutes on 29% shooting and didn't attempt a free throw. He did have a steal, though. Don't need to drop him, but yeah, this was like it's one of the most obvious sell highs that was going to regress of all time. One of the other ones plays for the other team here, and we'll talk about that in a second. Michael Conley also had a huge game, 14, 2, and 11. Conley has sort of putted along. He's been more of an assist specialist, and he continues to be that with 11 assists. But the shots fell. He hit 3 threes. He's probably not a must for points leagues, but for category leagues, especially with a schedule like this, you're okay with that hold in a lot of spots, and it does help you play the Bulls. Of course, same with Jaden McDaniels. Imagine giving up 19 points to Jaden McDaniels. He had 19 with 3 threes and a block on 87% shooting. Not much else going on that side of the equation, I don't think. So let's flip it over and talk about the Chicago Bulls, who were once again without Zach LaVine. So Kobe White had 24. He had 8 assists, not much else, and shot really well. What about Vooch? I know people still seem to think that I'm so unfair on Vooch, and I'm always unfair on Vooch, and I keep getting him wrong. I don't. I have in the past, sure. But I was also one of the people who was the highest on Vooch about 4 or 5 years ago. I was 100% correct on Vooch last season, and this season he is a gigantic sell high. He played 30 minutes here. He had 25 and 5 with 1 block. He shot 11 of 12 in the first 3 quarters of this game, which is about 92%. He ended up shooting 73%. He missed both of his free throws. We knew that was going to come down as well. I talked about that on the Sell High show the other day. He only had the 2 assists, and he was, 3 of 5 from 3, hit his first 3. So the regression already started in game. If anyone is dumb enough, and yeah, I will say dumb, if anyone is dumb enough to give you a top 20 player for Vooch, you take it and run. There's just no way. There is no chance in the world. And this is not hate. This is nothing like that. Nikola Vucevic is not this level of shooter. I 100% guarantee you. And we will continually check in on this. I will check in on myself all the time. We do it all the time. We do the buy low, sell highs. 2 weeks later, we check in. End of the season, we'll check in. We're neither right nor wrong, but I know that I'm right that this is a sell high. He's not maintaining this level of shooting. It is not happening. If he got hurt tomorrow and didn't play the rest of the season, is the only way that these percentages would stick at this number. That is the only way, and I hope he doesn't, but that's the only way. Dosunmu was like very mid. Like you can hold him because they play a Saturday, but 13, 3, and 2, these are the games where he needs to do damage, and that's 2 games without Levine where he sucked. The first one was really good, and this one, not so good. Pat Williams had 12 points and 3 steals. Are we caring? Absolutely not. He's a stream guy for days like this, and that's it. Well, Josh Giddey continues to be like brutal. 9 points on 25%. My guy. And last season, he actually shot free throws well. This season, not so much. He did have 6 rebounds and 13 assists. I'm not going to short shrift him too much there, but it's been a very big disappointment from Giddey this season. Matas Buzelis was great last game. He had 2 points here, but he had 2 steals. He had 2 blocks. And he was in the rotation ahead of Julian Phillips in this game. I think there is going to be a period this year where he has a top 100 run as a starter playing 27 minutes. I think it's probably not going to come until after Christmas, but the first step's already here. Gone from into the G League, Ignite, but then also G League Windy City Bulls to getting into the rotation earlier than other players, and he will take Patrick Williams' role. I'm certain. If you're in a stashable format, a long-term stashable format, Buzelis, I think, will be useful, and we saw it with the steals and blocks upside here. But that's about it. Of course, the Bulls lost this game because Taylor Horton-Tucker played 18 minutes. He had 13, 5, and 2 in that time. Josh, that's not fair. He's only a -6. I don't care. You play Taylor Horton-Tucker, you lose. That's the universe's rules. I have not made those up, so you can't really blame me for it. I'm so sorry. So sorry to tell you. All right, let's go on to the second game of the day. The Utah Jazzmen went to Milwaukee to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. Lauri Markkanen returned. He started. That meant Kyle Filipowski came off the bench, and they still got cooked. 100-123 was the final score. In this one, so a blowout. The Bucks are able to pull their starters off, giggity, with about 4 minutes or so to go. But we'll start by focusing on the Jazz, who also saw the return of Jordan Clarkson in this game. We'll start with him because he played only 21 minutes, but he had 18, 4, and 2. 21 minutes is not enough for Jordan Clarkson to be a must-roster 12-team league guy. But what we wanted to see was what they would do for other players, namely Colin Sexton, who played 27 minutes and had 14, 2, and 7. And again, that's not bad from Sexton. But it doesn't give me a huge amount of confidence that he's going to be a 30-minute-a-night player. For now, a soft hold on Sexton. Clarkson's a stream for days like this, and that's probably about it. Walker Kessler, a bit disappointing with only 25 minutes and only 6 points, but 8 rebounds and 3 blocks. Does the thing that he needs to do. And how about our mate? Sorry if you play on ESPN, but John Juzang. 16 minutes for the big fella, 12 points with 3 threes, a steal, and a block. Don't worry about him. If you play on ESPN, obviously you can't. But otherwise, that's interesting that he's just sneaking in and getting some minutes. Kyle Filipowski went from starting to being out of the rotation, so that's very disappointing. And it was the first minutes for rookie Isaiah Collier, who also played only as a part of the blowout, and same with Bryce Sensabaugh. Only 3 minutes for those 3 guys. I expect that Collier will have fantasy value at some point much, much later in the season. Same with Filipowski. As for Johnny Collins, 25 minutes still is encouraging with Markkanen back, but we knew that a lot of what he was doing was completely unrealistic in those minutes. 11 and 3 with no other stats is clearly, that would not be enough if that was what he does every night. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I still do not believe that he's going to be able to maintain 12-team league value as we move forward every night. But that's not ideal. Speaking of not ideal, Lauri Markkanen, someone I avoided in every draft, but not because I thought he'd suck, because I just didn't think he was going to play after the deadline, basically. 8 points, 2 threes, 30% shooting, 7 and 4 with 2 steals. Now, I would say that's a buy low. I would. Except I just don't want him on my team in a head-to-head league when I know he's not going to be there in the playoffs. So I'd have to be buying so low that it doesn't matter. That the guy that I might be sending to get him would be someone I could drop anyway. So that's just not going to happen. That's the only reason I'd be looking to do it, because he's going to be better than this. But the reason I didn't draft him was because I didn't think he'd play later in the year. With so many warning signs and red flags pointing to that, which have only sort of increased recently. Keontae George went back to being a bad shooter, 27%, 11. I wish he'd had 11 points. It'd be one more than the 10 that he actually scored. With 3 threes and 3 assists, I am very clearly holding. You can do what you want. I will hold. And Cody Williams, there's no juice with this guy. 6 points, 25 minutes, 2 threes, a block. He's one of the... He's got a bit of Tone Snell in him, which is not a great thing from fantasy, where he can be out there and you can just be like, he's playing, is he? Cool. What's he done? Nothing. Bit of that in him. So he's realistically just a dynasty guy and not really touching the sides of any sort of other fantasy format right at this point in his career. And I'm not really certain he's going to be there in other parts, but that's okay too. The Bucks made 2 changes. Giannis came back, and that meant Bobby Portis moved to the bench, but Glenn Rivers made another change. Andre Jackson Jr. started, and Gary Trent Jr. went to the he went to the bench. In fact, apparently he had some back issues in this game. He played only 8 minutes, and that's why he didn't play in the second half. And he's bad.
Get that garbage out of here.
We are clearly dropping him in 14-team leagues and anything shallower. He had 2 points in 8 minutes, Gary Trent. But what do we do with Andre Jackson, who played 28 minutes? Now, Dr. Rivers doesn't usually like to give the young guys run, but he did. Now, Jackson's not going to be a scorer, very clearly. He shot 75% and had 7 points. But what he does, he can give you some nice assists, 4 of them, with 4 steals. He is playing against the Jazz, though, so let's get that into perspective. If you are looking for steals, Andre Jackson might be someone with a little bit of interest for you. I don't think that he's a must-roster 12-team league guy by any stretch, but those minutes are very encouraging. The steals are obviously very awesome. Speaking of steals being awesome, Damian Lillard, 34, 4 and 7, 4 steals, 4 threes. After a real stinking game not that long ago, Lillard's up to being the 12th best player this season. And Yanni had 31 and 16, steal, block in his return. Now we wait to see whether Antetokounmpo plays tomorrow on the back-to-back against the Knicks. I think he would. And I think if he was going to sit, you'd probably sit the one against the Jazz, although this Bucks team just needed to win. So maybe they thought, we just got to get a win somehow, man. So maybe they did that, made sure of it against the Jazz, and then they might sit him tomorrow, just be aware. Portis was pretty good, 27 minutes, 19 and 6 there. Not a lot to get excited about. And this is why we didn't get super excited about AJ Green, although he still had 12 points with 4 threes. But he only played 18 minutes. That's a nice stream guy when you're looking for those categories. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince continues to thieve playing time. He had 6 points in 25 minutes. And when eventually old mate Chris Middleton returns in the year 2040, Prince, I'm guessing, will go to the bench. So, look, Jackson's got, I think, a level of stability here. I don't think they'll go Middleton and Prince as the starters. God, if that's the case, then Darvin Ham is like pocket billiardsing Doc from behind to tell him what to do, because what else is going on? That just shouldn't be something that happens. It could happen, though. So just don't be like certain of it. I'm certain, but don't be certain of it that Jackson will start over Prince. I'm pretty certain of it. Brook Lopez had 1 point. You don't see many 1 point games, and he had 2 steals and a block. It's been a very, very up and down year so far for old mate Brook Lopez. Today's episode is brought to you by Skims for men. You've heard of Skims? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, I don't know. But Skims is now available for men's. Skims, I got a couple of pairs. The lovely folks over at Skims sent them to me, and I loved it. Because getting good underwear for someone who wears underwear every day, which apparently, according to this copy, is something that's not a common thing. Or it's something that needs to be mentioned. Hey, do you wear underwear every day? Yeah, I do. And that's why Skims is so good, because I want something comfortable. I don't want to be searching through my drawer and go, poof. These ones, they're pretty rough. I don't like the tags. I don't like the feel. I don't like the fit. I don't like the creep. I don't like the crutch. I don't like any of that stuff. But with Skims, it's all good. Choice of materials, the cotton, the stretch. I got one of each. The brief cut, the boxer brief, the boxer. You don't need to know what cut my underwear is. You just send me a DM and we'll talk about that later for a fee. But Skims has everything you would want. Different sizes, different shapes, unbelievable feel, and the comfort is next level. Skims for him? That's what you should have called it. Skims for men's. Come on, mate. Skims for men's is what it's called. Skims for men's has done it. They've hit the jackpot. They've found the underwear that you are going to want to wear. So go and shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, and you will, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also available at skims.com. Just sounds a little bit like that guy that used to run, the Pirate Bay? Kim.com? I keep thinking about that. I shouldn't, though. Should we do the next game? We probably should. It is the last game of the day. What a weird day where all 3 games started at the exact same time. Just another scheduling masterclass. The Portland Trailblazers and the San Antonio Spurs. The Blazers ran out the same lineup that they've been running out, even though old mate Shaedon Sharpe returned. He came off the bench. We'll probably just dig straight in and talk about Shaedon now because he's probably the one that you want to hear about the most here. The Spurs won at 118-105, and Sharpe played 20 minutes. He had 13-2-1 with a block and shot 67%. And I would say we got actually no information about what to expect from that. That's good. The scoring's nice. It's solid. But what we wanted to see is, like, is there anything that you do that is not scoring? Because I still don't know about it. I think he's worth a grab. I don't know whether it will take long for him to get back into the starting lineup, but who knows? They seem to really love what Toumani Camara is doing. Now, Camara had 4 points on 29%, which is clearly not going to cut it, but he played 35 minutes and he had 9 rebounds. I don't think that Camara is a must-roster player outside of schedule plays. But what it does make, it just makes it difficult for Scoot and for Sterling. They're the same person. For Shaedon and Scoot to play enough. 20 minutes for each of them here. Scoot had 11, 3 and 3 with a steal. And honestly, we're jacking.
Get that garbage out of here.
As much as I still do believe in Scoot, much less than I did, by the way, that's not enough. And the path is just not there at this point. You can stash and you can wait for something to change or an injury, and that's all fine. I don't know your individual circumstances. But as a general rule, if Scoot's on your roster, I'm going to say, yeah, maybe not. You don't have to. And that's the whole point of a jack. So if you want to move on, do it. As for Sharpe, it's worth a grab to see what happens with the minutes. But if he stays at 20, then we're obviously not doing that either. It was a solid game from the Snowman, DeAndre Ayton, 21 and 10. He actually blocked a shot as well. No free throws, though. Why would you do that? Why would you want a free throw as a big man? Never going to happen. But he blocked the shot, so that's good, while Simons had 19 and 7 assists. And Denny Avdia, honestly, I think we're there.
Get that garbage out of here.
9, 7, and 5, 25 minutes. The upside's not there. This is what I banged on about with Denny. I've got plenty of things wrong. I thought Scoot would be good. Guess not. But I was very clear on Denny that he's the 5th or 6th usage player on this team. He doesn't have the upside that some may think he does. And I just don't think he's that good. So far, he has not been that good. And if you want to move on, go for it. Things may clear up later on, trades, fake injuries in March, whatever. But there's just not enough happening here to be considered an absolute must. Jeremy Grant, like 21 and 3. This is the Jeremy Grant that we love, isn't it? 21-3 with 0 steals and 0 blocks. That's him. The no rebounding shooter. Good work, my guy. What else happened for this game? Delano Banton got some extra minutes. We always love to see 16 Delano Banton minutes, especially when Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson are playing 20 each. Chauncey Billups, you're a man after my heart. No, we're clearly not rostering Delano Banton, clearly. Although, some people are. Let us go on to the other side of this lineup because it is clearly time to panic on Victor Wembanyama. The panic is real for the 6th ranked player in -1 rankings. He had 12 points. It's a disaster. He shot 31%. That's actually really terrible. He had 2 threes, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. And can we just calm down? Yeah, it hasn't been a great start. Imagine not having a great start and being the 6th ranked player, and one of the players above you is Jordan Poole, who I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to climb over. Like, we're all right, yeah? It's not a great start, very clearly. His points league numbers are not high enough. Understandable. I get it. But settle down. It didn't ruin your season. It's not the end of the world. He's not Jaren Jackson. He's not Manute Bol. Like, just settle down. We literally had a 9-block game like a day ago and a 5x5 a week ago. Like, relax. There's a lot of vitriol about Wemby at the moment. Just relax. He could be doing better. Absolutely. He took 6 threes. He hit 2 of them. A lot of people are like, get in there and get tough in the paint. Maybe. Or if he starts hitting threes, he'll cook everybody. The volume is not ideal. He still led the team in shot attempts, but I think he needs to do way more than that. I don't need to see 13 Keldon Johnson shots. The Horse played 31 minutes. He had 17-11. That's fine. If you streamed him in for this, you love it, and you get him on Saturday, you love it as well. But Vassell is going to have an impact there, I'm fairly certain. Well, Bubbles played 33 minutes. Old Buble, Julian Champagny, 14 and 6 with 4 threes. We ride him until Vassell comes back, and then we reassess. Chris Paul, a bit disappointing after some strong games. 6 assists and 2 steals is still good. And Steph Castle, not a bad game from Castle. 14 points is pretty solid. Like, there's no question in that. That is a good game. 6 assists is good, and 55% is good. Love that. That is all really good stuff from Castle. I still don't think that there's anything to get super excited about with him. I'm definitely not adding him. Vassell is going to push that even further down. That's solid enough, but I'm not going to get super excited about that sort of production. It's good without getting excited. What about the pencil Harrison Barnes? Barnesy.
Get that garbage out of here.
That's the wrong button. Barnes, yeah, he sucks. 11-7, 44%, 2 of 4 from the line. Like, he's just bad. Get him off 12 teamers. Don't worry about it. Don't have to have him. I actually skipped over the fact that Blake Wesley was awesome. 10 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 100% shooting. That's really good to know, Blake. I love to see that from you. I'm just so sorry. I'm just not going to believe in that. Now, the Malachi Branham, did suffer an ankle injury. Now, Branham had been pretty good, 17 points before that. We'll see how long that lasts, but that could boost Wesley's minutes. And those of you in deeper leagues will want to just pay a little bit of attention to him. Like, it's fine, but it's nothing that's it's nothing world beating at this point. What about the monstrous line of the night? Who do you think it is? I'd say there's probably 2 people that you'd be debating over who's got the title, but in the end, it is Big Damo. The cigarette lighter legend Damian Lillard had 34 points. He had 7 assists. He also got 4 steals and hit 4 threes. And he is your monstrous line of the night. What about your waiver wire line of the night? The best performance from an under-rostered player. That one actually goes to Andre Jackson Jr., who, like Dame, had 4 steals. He had 4 assists. He had 7 points. And he's at least in the deeper league conversations now, maybe even 14-teamers. Your young gun of the night. Is it Andre Jackson as well? After, he's a second-year player, did he get it? Or is it the biggest bust in history, Victor Wembanyama, who had the best performance for a first or second-year player? Yeah, it's him. He only had 12 points, but 8 rebounds, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. He's probably okay. And the dud of the night. Who was the worst performer of the day? Always love when you do a sell high video and then someone comes out, and I don't love that he had a dud, but Naz Reid had 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist, and you go, oh, that reversion was really quick. You don't drop Naz, he's going to be better than this, but he's also going to be worse than what he was doing. He's your dud of the night, unfortunately, if you had him. Who are the top 6 players over the course of Thursday with those 3 games? Well, you know what? We can just go in and have a look, because number 1, of course, was Damian Lillard, followed by Anthony Edwards, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama, DeAndre Ayton, the Snowman, and Rudy Gobert. Your top 6 waiver wire players. Number 1 was Andre Jackson, Blake Wesley, which we can pretty much ignore, Jaden McDaniels, the stream legend, Malachi Branham, who's now injured, Pat Williams, who's probably a 14-team streamer, and then old mate ESPN's legend, Johnny Juzang. Your top 6 players across Yahoo point scoring formats, similar list: Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, DeAndre Ayton, and Julius Randle. And then for ESPN points leagues, not Johnny Juzang, it was Damian Lillard, Anthony Edwards, Giannis Antetokounmpo, DeAndre Ayton, Rudy Gobert, and Michael Conley Sr. And that is it. Is he senior? No, he's junior, is he? Michael, he's one of them. He's a Suffix legend. I don't remember what it is, but no one ever talks about it. It's like Paul George being Paul George Jr. that is never even referenced. All right, all good. I'm sure you don't care that much. Hit the thumb, though. Maybe you care enough for that. Let's hit 80,000 after today. I doubt we'll get there, but we can always try. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.